we want to close with something that says we want to see you be successful once again, and so we want to give them the understanding that we do value them, we want them to return to successful, and we're going to give them that opportunity in the next, say, 30 days in order to turn this unacceptable performance around to acceptable. Let's say that 30 days goes by, and we're still seeing unacceptable conversation or unacceptable performance. Now we're going to get into the second written warning. So in this second written warning, you're going to refer to the first written warning and to the verbal discussion. And it might go something like, you know, over the last 60 days or over the last 30 days, we have had a verbal conversation with you. You were presented with a first written warning. That was done to outline unacceptable behavior. And at this point, we have not seen enough improvement in order to warrant, you know, returning you to acceptable behavior or acceptable performance. So what you also want to say is this is important as failure to improve could result in termination of employment. So now we're escalating the fact that it's a third warning, it's the second written warning. What's happening is their performance has not turned to acceptable levels yet, but what also is happening is we're upping the ante, and we're saying we're going to give you another 2 weeks or 30 days, and within that time frame or at the end of that time frame, if we don't see sustained continued improvement, then your performance or then your employment may be terminated. Again, we expect to see significant improvement. We want you to be successful, and so we're giving you this time to do it. So things like that you want to put in this second written warning. So let's say we go another 30 days. So now we have maybe 60, 70 days invested in this process. If at the end of the second written warning time frame, again, you can do it in 2-week chunks, you can do it in 30-day chunks, and it's got to be a reasonable. I mean, I think it's reasonable within 2 weeks for somebody that has a tardy problem to turn that around. I'm not sure if 2 weeks is enough if somebody has a training problem that they can turn that around. It may be more acceptable to give them 30 days to get through a program or to get through a module and then to demonstrate proficiency. But again, you're going to have to judge this based on what the particular performance issue is. But let's say at the end of the second written warning, we have still not seen sustained improvement. So, so now we're going to take the step of separating this employee from our company. Okay, so you know, unfortunately, what I think happens is it's a self-inflicted firing. And I know a lot of times in corporate America, supervisors, managers, even HR people are very reluctant to use those words and terminate anybody. But I think what we have to look at is, you know, if we have told somebody what the deal is, if we have told them what they need to do to improve, and if we haven't seen any significant improvement, then I think that it's not the company that's firing the person. Really, they are saying, look, I didn't want to do this anymore, I didn't care about it, or I just couldn't meet the standards, and so I don't think this is the right place to work. So that's how I look at it, because again, you have taken them down the road that says you have some choices. You can either choose to do what we have identified as things that you need to do to improve to become competent again, or you can choose not to do those things, and so the result is, you know, you'll be separated from the organization. It's unfortunate we never want to get to that point, again, for the reasons that we've identified as, you know, we think this is a good employee, we hate that turnover, but again, if they're not going to get with, you know, the program and bring their performance up to acceptability, then they have made the decision that they're going to separate. Over the years, when I have been involved in these kind of situations, I've seen a number of reactions, one of which is relieved. Because I think sometimes there's people that feel like, you know, things have changed in the organization. I was successful at this point, but things change and I'm no longer successful in, you know, at this point because maybe either processes have changed, technology has changed, or, you know, something has changed and they just feel they can't keep up. So in a way, it's a relief. There are obviously some people that are angry. There are some people that are in disbelief. But what you have to do is, again, walk them through the process of what's happening so they can fully understand why you're here today and the steps that have been taken. At that point, you know, you need to collect their keys and their ID badges, et cetera, their company-issued phone if they have one. And I would, again, remind people to be respectful and maintain the dignity of people that are being separated. So you may give them the option either to clean out their desk now and say goodbye or to return after hours and pick up their materials. So, and then remember to turn off their systems. But again, when you're at this point, they're still a good person. We're just saying this good person is not right for this organization at this time. So separation seems to be the only viable option at this time. Documentation. We all know in human resources that we need that documentation just so that we can make sure that we have a record of what we have done with this employee. So first I would coach you to have the employee sign the notice of the meetings and the receipt of the written warning information. And even I'll go beyond that. I think even that first initial verbal conversation, you might just want to have them sign something that says, on such and such a date, we had a verbal conversation about such and such performance issue. We agreed on a course of action to take, and we agreed that in 2 weeks, 30 days, we would review the situation to see what progress has been made. Again, sign it just so everybody gets a copy of it so that we all know what's going on. If an employee says, especially when it gets to that second written warning, sometimes we've seen this, is the employee just says, I'm not going to sign that. Then I think what you do is you have a witness that comes in that observes that they are refusing to sign, and then that witness can just observe such and such refused to sign this document. However, a copy was given to them so that we acknowledge that they did get the information. Now, the other thing with documentation is you need to treat the file notes as if they could be subpoenaed for unemployment or wrongful discharge. Because sometimes we know when it gets down to situations like this and somebody goes to the next step, especially if it's that second warning and they are separated, that sometimes we get into an unemployment hearing or we get a lawsuit filed. So we need to make sure that the documentation is clear, it's professional, and you need to make sure that if this was ever discoverable information, which it could be, that if it was put up on a screen in a courtroom with a jury trial, that it would be something that you would want them to see. So again, professional, it's clear, it's documented, it's signed off on. That's the type of documentation that we want to see.